Hello, cannabis traders and investors checking in on the sector. We ended the week on a high note with significant bull volume, strong closes, some euphoria creeping in. We're going to look at the impact that social media has on the sector and what to watch for from here. I'll let you know what I am doing, and we'll look at where we stand as we head into next week. So we're going to start talking about social media, Reddit, Twitter, and all that stuff, and the impacts that it has on the space and how I look to capitalize on this social media, what I'm monitoring, and how I use it to essentially make money. Again, you have to keep in mind that there's different mindsets for this sector. Some people that are watching this are investors, and they want a slow and steady uptrend for the next 6 months, going 100% from here. And what I want to see is 100% in 2 weeks. So that's what I'm looking for. Again, I'm a shorter term mindset. I want to capitalize and lock in that profit in my pocket. I'm not in love with any of these companies. And for me, it's a short term mindset. So again, we're playing the game differently, and that's A-okay. We're both on the same team with wanting things to go up. And we both like the sector as a whole. And we both want the same kind of reforms in terms of the legalities. So SNDL is part of Wall Street Bets and Reddit. And that's a name that's been pumped in the past. And again, people that are talking about fundamentals are going to get very frustrated in times of euphoria because a name like this, where you might say, well, they don't have any US exposure, or they're a terrible company. 90% of the traders that are jumping into this name don't care at all about any of that. And that is why we see so many times, these sympathy plays. When you get a fervor of euphoria, everybody's just looking to the next one. And it happens in crypto all the time. Where that's why Dogecoin and SHIB and these meme coins run, where people say, what's the value there? The value doesn't matter. It's just a hype run. So when you get this kind of euphoria that's seeping into the sector over the last week, everybody's just looking who hasn't run yet. Okay, we're going to this name, we're going to this name's running. And that's the euphoria and the fervor that is created by gains. Where's the next opportunity? Let's go to this one. Let's take some profit. We'll go to this one. And that's a good bullish environment because everybody moves up together. And if you make profit here, you move the profit over here. It's a nice time to be a bull in a sector. So we have SNDL and TLRY. They are the pair that Reddit likes. They've run it in the past. We know TLRY has been the pump ticker of choice by big money, going all the way back to the time where it hit $300. And that is where the big volume likes to hang out as far as the higher listed names. So just an example, Friday morning, I look and I see TLRY Friday morning. First off, SNDL, bullish reaction to earnings, stock buyback news. It starts to trend on Reddit. And they've got these sites that show you ticker sentiment. So swaggystocks.com, blah, blah, blah. And I was looking at this Friday morning. I was looking at the last 12 hours. And the number 3 here was TLRY. SNDL was a little bit further down the list. So that shows me, okay, they're talking about it on Wall Street Bets. And then I looked at TLRY and I see TLRY has 10 times the dollar volume of CGC and ACB here pre-market. And then by the time the bell rang, it was 20 times the dollar volume of those names. So I'm looking around and saying, okay, why is this? And a lot of people, some people point and say, well, it's because they have exposure in Germany and Germany's, moving towards legalization. And bigger picture, longer term timeframes, that may be at play. But when you're focused in on a 12-hour window, unless there's specific news relating to Germany or TLRY, it has to do with social media as to why this difference is going on. So this showed me that Reddit was on it, on TLRY. And I made an entry in TLRY pre-market Friday. I can't remember the last time I made a pre-market entry on a Canadian MJ name, but I entered TLRY at 12.45 and I sold the morning pump when we ran up towards 13. I added at 12.45. I added right when the bell rang at the open, and then I sold half in the 12.90s and then gave it a chance to run and then sold the other half a bit lower, giving back some profit. But essentially, that's my mindset. I just made money by capitalizing on recognizing that social media was hyping up a certain name. So again, if you're looking long-term fundamentals, none of this matters to you. But this is the workings of how traders and how social media play an impact and how opportunity is created. And I personally, as a short-term trader, capitalize on that opportunity. And that's where a chat room helps, where everybody has, dozens or hundreds of eyes all looking at different sources and trying to piece together these little pieces of the puzzle to give us information to try and profit during this game. So that was going on in Reddit. And now here we've got a post in Wall Street Bets, MSOS. So the history here is MSOS has been deleted from Wall Street Bets because it has not met the criteria of 1 billion in assets. Now it has, and this post is sticking. And you can see it's being upvoted, and it was 420 when I upvoted it. I had to be 421. Took a little bit of convincing, but getting this to have eyes and attention helps the pump. And again, I understand you may not care about the pump, but it can only help because it's all a positive feedback loop. Big gains mean more media coverage, means more eyes see it. And, we don't want to pump and dump and have people lose a bunch of money. But if you are convinced in the long-term possibilities and probabilities of this sector going up over the next few years, then you can have the mindset that the more people that get eyes on it now, the better. Before, it's different than pumping it the day before legalization or the day before first day of sales when we're very clearly due for a top. So keep an eye on Reddit and upvote these things and get more eyes on it. We're then going to see Twitter personalities. Zach Morris is one of the big recent ones that gets a lot of attention. But again, if he were to cover MSOS or an individual OTC name, which he probably won't, I don't think he'll cover OTC. But again, if he did, that day, it would outperform its peers by double-digit percentages. So again, it's just something to be aware of as far as things that take place during these cycles. So we've got big gains that the media likes talking about. We've got the CNBC coverage. We've got the potential catalysts. On Monday, we've got, I forget her name, but Congress introducing decriminalization. Honestly, that's as much as I know or care about in the short term, because for me, I know that, it's nothing that's going to be passed immediately, but it's just more headlines. Okay, we've got something on Monday, more headlines are coming, more attention, and that's why I went real aggressive on Friday, averaging up my positions and looking to hopefully sell some of those shorter term positions for some gains. So just full disclosure before we get into the chart, I've got cores in TCNNF, GTBIF, MSOS. That's my core position, and I'm not in and out of those frequently, but I frequently add to or subtract from depending on my aggressiveness. So on Thursday, I talked about in the video, and if you didn't watch the Thursday video, I talk about broader market bullish correlations, which is a very important concept. We had our second day in a row, Friday, bullish correlation with the broader market, always a good thing when that's happening. But I talked about my adding more MSOS, and then Friday I tripled my position size first thing in the morning, because again, I have a very clear stop level that I can go off of at that point in the short term. So again, my mindset is, okay, well, I have my stop level on Thursday when I entered was going to be the low of the day. And then we closed strong. All right, I'm swinging it. And then Friday, first thing in the morning, I see the hype building. I see the Reddit. I see, our Monday potential catalyst. I see the volume in Canadian MJ and US MJ. And so I add more and more. And again, I just put my stop under the low of the day at that point in time, 30.90. And my entry was, 31.10, 31.20. So I'm risking 1% to go real aggressive. If I stop out, I get back 1% of my profits. No big deal. I'm only risking profits at this point because of my previous positions. But if I don't stop out, I now have a very aggressive position that I can keep holding for further upside. So added to MSOS on Friday. And then Friday afternoon, I added ACB, TLRY, CGC. So I am now in the largest amount of MJ positions that I've had in a very long time, just going aggressive on the sector. And again, Monday, if we gap up, I will lighten up Canadian MJ because we're due for hourly consolidation. I'll look to reload it on some hourly consolidation. And again, just sharing that I'm always going to be moving in and out of these names very rapidly as a shorter term trader with the constant goal of locking in profits while keeping a core position that I can have a longer term mindset on. And again, not worry about it and keep it distinctly different in a different account, and then have my day trading and short-term setups. So that is where we stand. We're watching for the hype and euphoria. And again, any headlines from here are bullish. And again, the one headline that I'm looking for, we want a buyout. Just like CGC and Constellation ignited the sector back when that happened. Next time that happens to an MSO, and now would be such good timing to just really get this euphoria kicked in. But if that were to happen, whether it be a buyout or a significant stake being taken, that is automatic buy now news for me. So as soon as that headline appears, if it's a halted ticker and that happens, I am instantly buying peers very aggressively because I'm going to anticipate that that's going to be a catalyst for the next leg up. Because again, as soon as that headline comes out, they're going to be on CNBC. There's going to be articles written about it. It's going to get social media attention. So it's just all a giant game is really what it boils down to. This is a giant game with many different aspects, and social media is a huge aspect in this game. So now let's look at our individual charts. Earnings on Monday, TCNNF. I'm trying to get all the fundamental stuff out of the way before we just get all technical with it here. Not going to look at these psychedelic names because cannabis is clearly taking our attention right now. Psychedelics are working on building some short-term supports, not taking my eye off psychedelics, but shifting attention. And that's what trading is all about, shifting my attention to this sector, keeping one eye on this sector, and then moving over to this sector when there's opportunity. And so again, my focus on this Canadian MJ space, I ignored it for 5 months. And some people like to look at this and say, he stopped doing videos and he's only back because of the hype and euphoria. I'm a trader and I wasn't trading it. I was out of the MJ space for the last 6 months. I started nibbling and making attempts over the last month, but I leave when there's a lack of opportunity and I come back when there's opportunity. So now that we have this opportunity taking place, there's a direct correlation with the amount of content I'm going to be putting out and the amount I'm trading it and the amount of possible opportunity there is. And so that's why there were no Canadian MJ videos for many months here. Nobody wants to hear me say we're bearish, we're looking for a lower high, and we're likely going to see another leg down. And I am no longer repeating that over and over again because things have changed. And it was the volume climaxes that marked our bottom. And again, go back to the video a week or two ago, and those volume climaxes were the first sign. And what I said we need now, daily trend changes must happen. They must happen, and they're happening on increasing bull volume. So everything's looking good. One more note, MSOS has 120 million in cash to put into play. And when you have individual names where a big day is $10, $15 million, that's a lot of cash. And so there's a potential positive feedback loop there. When people buy MSOS, they get funds that they can then deploy to individual tickers. That pumps the individual tickers up. That helps the underlying assets go up. And it's this positive feedback loop, just like what took place here when the volume first started coming in this ETF. The volume really started coming in here after the new all-time high. And then here, and then again, just the ramp up in bull volume, self-fulfilling, perpetual motion. Money comes into MSOS. MSOS spends that money on individual names go up, it helps MSOS go up, positive feedback cycle. So that is what we want to see take place now. All right, if you're still with me, I appreciate you sticking through all that. So we're going to start with, I guess we'll just get SNDL out of the way. I view this as a meme stock and it's for pump and dump in my opinion. So why do they choose this one? It's a penny stock, it's listed on the NASDAQ, it has tons of volume. When there's interest. That can pretty much sum it up. And there's opportunity there, but for me personally, I'm not really interested in it. We saw the gap up open, we sold off, we set an hourly high or low. I mean, there's significant opportunity. We went up 15% plus from the low of the day into the close. We've got some clear resistances in extended hours. I'm looking at 94, I'm rounding, 94, 98, and $1 is the biggie. Just a clear psychological level that the bulls have to get over. 106 is a level back here. But the most important support is the hourly high or low now of 80 cents because anything above that is a high or low. And the name of the game now is just keeping uptrends, keeping hourly uptrends. When the hourly uptrend is lost, we look for daily consolidation. When the daily uptrend is lost, we look for weekly consolidation. So the bulls want to maintain hourly and daily uptrends as long as possible. ACB is our lead Canadian MJ bull. And we were talking about that this past week. And the reason being, once you break 788, you're at 4+ month highs. And now with this big, massive bull volume day on Friday, we are currently approaching 886 resistance. And if we get over that level, it's the highest level in over 5 months. So significant shift taking place. The weekly trend change has already taken place. That is very notable because no other peers have changed their weekly trend. So we topped out on the bounce, higher low and higher high. It's an inverse head and shoulders for those of you that like patterns, which essentially is just a downtrend changing to an uptrend. And 1064 is the next major long-term resistance level. The monthly perspective on any name that changes the weekly trend, we're then zooming out to the monthly chart. And anything under 1064 is a monthly lower high. One time frame at a time. We change the hourly trend, then we need the daily. We change the daily trend, then we need the weekly. We change the weekly trend, then we need the monthly. So most names are now going to be watching for weekly trend change attempts into the end of the year. But ACB is already one step ahead in that regard. So ACB is a lead bull for me. Hourly time frame, we're going to be due for hourly consolidation. If we gap up on Monday, I'm going to be looking for hourly consolidation and hourly higher lows to form either Monday morning or mid-Monday afternoon. Perhaps it's a little sell the news event with this press release introducing this bill. But anything above 774 is an hourly higher low. In the strongest market environments, and this is what crypto's been doing for months, you see aggressive dip buying of oversold conditions. So on a very strong hourly uptrend, when you're pulling back to look for an hourly higher low, write these down. If this is new to you, this is very critical for understanding charts. When you're looking for an hourly higher low, 5-minute oversold conditions. These are what we call back burner trades. I have a video on YouTube, Google back burner. Back burner trades chart, guys, if you want to find it. So 5-minute oversold indicating significant dip buying to mark an hourly higher low, and then continuation shows you a really strong uptrend. When daily consolidation begins, hourly oversold conditions being bought aggressively to mark a daily higher low are when your uptrends are the strongest. And when Bitcoin is running to all-time highs, the best time to buy Bitcoin over the past few weeks has been hourly oversold conditions, because you're essentially buying the daily higher low and then you see a new all-time high. That is when things are their strongest. So that is a clue for me. Even if I'm not personally buying that dip, I'm watching to see how does the price respond. Does our 5-minute oversold bounce mark our hourly higher low into continuation? If the answer is yes, you know it's a very strong uptrend. And certainly increasing bull volume shows you a very strong uptrend as well. So we've got the high to be tested first thing Monday. If we gap up, I will be locking in some short-term profits. I'll be looking to reload it on hourly consolidation. But we got 858, 886, and 9 psychological with hourly uptrends, our guide. Again, when we lose the hourly uptrend, we're going to look for a daily higher low with tons of space for it to form. And bulls will be looking to buy that dip as well. TLRY. So TLRY had that pump because of Reddit, in my opinion, and then gave a lot of it back. And while we were pulling back here with this profit taking, the other names were outperforming through the morning, CGC and ACB. And I was definitely part of this, exit here. I exited, like I said, 1290s, and then I gave the bulls a chance, and they gave too much back, and then I exited the rest, maybe 1259 or something. And then we had a falling wedge that marked the low of the day, and I was away for the middle of the day, so I didn't re-add Canadian MJ at the ideal time, late morning, but I did re-add it into the afternoon, looking into that strong close. So I don't have nearly as much profit cushion on Canadian MJ names as I do on my US MJ positions, so I personally am quicker to take profit. And I love selling half positions because say I enter it, 1280 and I sell half at 13, my break even is instantly down at 1260, and that makes me way more comfortable in terms of probably not going to lose on this trade. I love getting in no risk trade positions where I sell partial, I put my stop at break even, and I try and let the trade play out for further follow through. So that's where I stand as far as less comfortable, less profit cushion on the Canadian MJ plays. Way more comfortable in US MJ because I was in them earlier. CGC, great close, great follow through. Again, we haven't changed the daily trend yet. So we want to run as significantly as possible before we top out. But once we top out, we have to confirm the daily trend change, just like some other names have already done. The hourly uptrend is our guide. Straight shot move all day Friday. Anything above the low of Friday will be an hourly higher low. Resistance is the high of after hours at 1550. And then we're looking up at 1592, 16. There's a little gap up here at 1687. But just one level at a time. Hourly uptrend is our guide. So again, I know that if we see hourly consolidation on Monday, I'm going to be scouting 5-minute oversold conditions for a bounce. The way I do it, let's say we pull back. Let's say we gap up at 1580 and we pull back all morning for a couple hours looking for an hourly higher low. 5-minute oversold happens at $15. I scale in, I make an entry at 1505. I've got another bid at 1490. So I'm scaling into oversold conditions. Let's say the bounce starts and I have an average at 15. We get up to 1520. I sell half. I put my stop break even 1480, and that's below the low, which means if that's our hourly higher low, I'm in and we're going to see further continuation, and I made a great entry. If we then from there fail the high and break that low, I stop out risk-free, I don't lose $1, and more prolonged consolidation takes place. That's how I trade. Hourly uptrend is our short-term guide. When we lose the hourly uptrend, we're going to look for a daily high or low. We're going to watch for hourly oversold conditions, knowing the bulls must prove a daily trend change if this move is going to have follow through. We broke the pattern of a lower high every month. That pattern was in place for 8 months in a row, and it has now broken. The question now is, how much follow through can we get? Unless we get some kind of massive catalyst, and I mean Biden coming and saying, we're all in MJ, then we're looking for monthly lower highs on a lot of these charts. And I'm not going to lose sight of that. Some charts are closer to their all-time highs than others. Some charts are thinner than others. An MSO, if we get the right kind of momentum and volume, can head back to an all-time high a lot quicker than CGC can, in my opinion, because think about the size of the market cap move that has to take place for a 300% move to take place. And again, you have all these bag holders. Every red candle here is someone buying and now in a red position. So we have a ton of bag holders to work through, sellers to work through to get back towards those highs. So we are anticipating a monthly lower high is the most likely result of this bounce. But the bulls are hoping that the bounce is significant enough to create the space for a monthly trend change to take place back to those bulls. Cron, nice recovery. So we gave a ton back on that. Filing, they're not going to be filing. There's a delay, yada, yada. Earnings coming up, but a very significant bounce. So anything under 579, make that 679 is just a daily lower high. And earnings are probably going to dictate whether we can take out that level or whether we form a tightening equilibrium. Because anything under 679 is a lower high. And then we would look for a higher low compared to 543 because of the bounce space that has been created off of that level. So tightening range on watch, but it all depends what the sector does. Obviously, we're running together, and it's really hard to pick who's going to be the strongest name. Every day it's changing. Who had the bigger gain that day, which is why diversification is ideal in my opinion. Trading multiple names, multiple sides of the border, and you want to diversify funds a bit because again, picking the winner, it's going to be real difficult. Earnings on Cron will be key. VFF, not liking the pullback VFF Friday morning. The fact that we did not break daily resistance of 952, a little bit of a short-term red flag. And again, now that we're getting so much hype, I get so many requests. Can you look at this ticker, this ticker, this ticker? And the ones that I'm not looking at doesn't mean they won't go up. They're going to go up with the sector. And the higher risk names have higher reward. For example, Hexo off of its low it was the ugliest chart there was. But when euphoria comes in, it doesn't matter. And the most beat up names often see the bigger gains. And when I'm trading crypto, we look for that as well. The names that are beat up the most, when Bitcoin makes a big move, those names see the bigger percent gains. So we've got a Hexo 50% move off the low, matching GTBIF 50% move off the low. And you look at CGC, and you might say, well, CGC is a way better company than Hexo, blah, 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 don't care. But the bottom line is it's a lot easier to move Hexo 50% than it is CGC in terms of dollar volume. So, if you bought Hexo, it was a better decision than CGC at this point for this current bull move. So I'm not saying that the names that I'm covering aren't going to go up. They're going to go up if the sector's going up. But I obviously have limited time and I'm sticking to the bigger names and the names that I am personally trading because they have more liquidity and I'm more comfortable. I've been trading them for 5 years at this point, and that's just what I'm sticking with. And again, these videos are meant to be a gauge as a bellwether for the sector, and everything that I say applies to all these other individual names. Look at their hourly uptrend, look at their dip buying from oversold conditions, but obviously don't have time to cover everybody. MSOS, beautiful increasing bull volume, beautiful confirmed daily trend change. So now the most important level on this daily trend change is our higher low of 28.39. And the next time we see daily consolidation, anything above 28.39 is a daily higher low. We know we have to change this weekly trend at some point. This bounce can top out at 33 or it can top out at 43. It all depends on the catalyst and the momentum and the volume, but we know that whenever this bounce tops out and whenever we lose the daily higher lows, we will have to confirm a weekly trend change to prove it, to prove follow through. We have not seen a weekly higher low and higher high since the all-time high. Every single bounce has been a weekly lower high, and it still is at this point. That's likely going to change, 32.77, very close in play, and that was our last lower high. but look at that volume. It's a beauty. Bull cross of the 12 and 26 EMA on the daily time frame is going to take place on Monday for the first time since all-time highs. Volume's great. Ramp up in volume. We want this to continue. We want to see MSOS with a $500 million day. And on Friday, we traded $150, $160 million. Very rough estimation. How do I determine that? I look at the share count and I multiply it by the midway point. Very rough guesstimation, but 5 million times 31 is $155 million. So that's how I'm quickly just gauging what dollar volume is. And we want 500 million. Can we do 500 million? Well, look at TLRY. TLRY on Friday did 120 million, 600 plus million. So it's certainly possible. We just need the right kind of players, the right kind of volume, the right kind of attention, the right kind of media coverage, the right kind of social media pumping. All these things are aspects. Hourly uptrends are guide on MSOS. Anything above the low of Friday is an hourly higher low. Some nice after hours strength. And that's another thing we want to see happening ideally is gaps. We want to see gap ups. We want to see follow through. It's a lot harder for OTC names to see gap ups because you can't run it up with pre-market volume. It's a lot easier to move stocks in pre-market and after hours than it is during regular trading. Just as a very simple example, you can look at MSOS after hours, and we went from the close at 31.80 up to, let's say, 70 cents to the upside on tiny volume. We're talking 10, 20,000 shares, whereas during regular trading hours, 10, 20,000 shares doesn't move the needle at all. So when the moves really get going, you'll see big money. Imagine I have $100 million on a stock and I save 10 million cash. And then I use that 10 million cash to run the price up. I don't care if I'm buying higher and making it more expensive for myself by running it up in after hours because it's making my $100 million position more valuable with a small amount of capital. And that's what you see these pumps, whether it's a Reddit pump or whatever pump, that's going on. Big money knows to move the price in extended hours because a little bit of capital goes a long way. It's much more thinly traded. So I'm watching for that as well. We had the gap up open on Friday and we ran, which was a great sign. We also had the bulls defend the end of the day. End of the day sold off a little bit, but not nearly as much as the past few times where it was just a straight 30-minute dump. So that was a good sign. And in my opinion, right around 3:45, bulls said, nah, we're not doing this again. Bulls showed up with some volume, and they put a stop to that to a certain degree. 31.80, 31.65, a couple short-term levels if I want to zoom in. But big picture here now, we're looking at weekly resistance, 32.77, 33.46 is next after that. The question is, how long can we maintain the daily uptrend before we lose it, knowing a weekly trend change will be inevitable if this is a longer-term cycle shift. Keep that hourly uptrend as long as possible. When you lose it, keep that daily uptrend as long as possible. I haven't talked about the broader market yet. Daily inside bar, bull break on SPY, all-time highs back in the conversation. Very healthy consolidation. IWM didn't break bull, still very tight. It would be great if IWM broke bull on Monday, because again, any broader market green helps this sector, but we are noting the consistent now, only a few days, maybe 3 or 4 times now, but starting to become consistent, a bullish correlation with the broader market, which is great. It's what the bulls have been waiting for a long time. So we love to see strength in the broader market. All it does is just add confidence. We want euphoria, we want confidence, we want bulls to be saying, okay, we got consolidation out of the way, S&P 500 back to testing all-time highs with the Russell. Let's deploy more capital into cannabis for this longer-term cycle shift. There were a lot of names that had this longer-term cycle shift already take place. The EV names, the solar names, go back and look at their charts. They were just less significant of a pullback than cannabis, but we had months of pullback. Look at this big drop. This is a 50% drop almost, while the rest of the stock market kept running. And we found support, and we slowly shifted trends one at a time. We changed the daily trend bullish. So here's your first daily trend change. Okay, great. Now we zoom out. We got to change the weekly trend. Took a long time, but we bounced around and we changed the weekly and the monthly trend back to the bulls. Higher, low, higher, high. So similar aspects, similar sectors as far as how they're viewed in the grand scheme of things, Tangent. Back to USMJ. GTBIF lead bull. Bullish reaction to earnings. 50% off the lows. 28.90 is the next major resistance. Again, these names are in weekly downtrends. We're not going to lose sight of that. We must change these weekly trends. 28.90 is resistance. If we get over that level, we got plenty of space. Even if we don't, plenty of space for a weekly higher low to form. And anybody that I know that is not in this move already, I'm not telling them to buy Monday or next week. I'm saying, well, you might have to miss some pump and run, but we will see weekly consolidation eventually. And that's what patient bulls are going to have to be waiting for from here. After the initial pump, it was waiting for daily consolidation. We got it. And if you miss the initial pump and the secondary pump, may have to be waiting for weekly consolidation now. So hourly uptrends are guide. Daily higher low is 21, our new most important support level, and 28.90 in play next week, followed by 30.62. TCNNF earnings on Monday. Next catalyst, bulls are looking towards break of 30.88. So daily higher low and higher high confirmed. Weekly trend change confirmed as well. Great sign for the bulls. 33.73 resistance. Monthly, tons of space for a lower high. GTBIF monthly. Lot of space for a lower high, but it's only 30%. So again, if the dollar volume comes in, 30% is not hard for these OTC names, but that dollar volume has to remain consistent. But a name like TCNNF, I would be watching for, if you just show me this chart and don't tell me anything, obviously certain news catalysts can throw the most likely scenario out the window. But the most likely scenario here is a monthly lower high and then a monthly higher low and a tightening range, potentially through a good part of early 2022. So again, I'm not in blue sky all-time high mode right now. I'm watching for monthly lower highs, and I'm not going to be holding positions when monthly consolidation takes place from here. The goal for the bulls is just prolong this move as long as possible before that monthly consolidation takes place. Curaleaf, big bull move on Friday, trying to play catch up, but technically still a daily downtrend. 11.11 is key resistance. We're coming off of a fresh low, although I take that back again. CURA is a better chart here. Daily higher low set, doesn't have that scam OTC open, and bulls need to get over 1384 to confirm the daily trend change, and then we would zoom out to our weekly resistance, 1285. Anything under 1285 is a weekly lower high. Bulls still have proving to do. CRLBF, daily uptrend following through, 974 resistance broke. We've got 1019 and 1115 as the next couple levels. Weekly resistance has broken. That's a good sign. Monthly time frame getting a bounce underway. But again, anything under 1794, 1749 is just a monthly lower high. So watching for the potential of monthly tightening ranges. I mean, ideal scenario, aside from everything run forever, for me, what I would like for clarity is a bull move to last into the start of 2022, give us a few months of follow through, set a monthly lower high, pull back, maybe our summer lull, which we know so often in this sector, is monthly consolidation looking for a higher low, spring and summer. And then as we head into 2022 and votes and hype maybe then that's an equilibrium bull break back towards all-time highs. One day at a time, as always. CXXIF, don't normally cover small caps, but the right people requested it. So again, I don't cover anything that has average volume less than millions. Need at least $3 million average daily volume. And this huge volume day is about $700,000 traded. So for me, doesn't meet the criteria. But again, if you're looking high risk, high reward, the lower cap names are likely to see bigger bull moves on the way up percentage wise, but also bigger pullbacks during consolidation. So it goes both ways. Resistance is 7103 and 85 as the next major levels. Daily higher low is set at 5814. And again, the bulls have to keep up volume. Most important aspect for me from here is volume, social media sentiment, and uptrends. Do we just keep setting higher lows and higher highs? Do we see declining bear volume on consolidation and increasing bull volume on continuation? That's your ideal uptrend for strength. I put a lot in this video with everything that I just said, and it may be overwhelming you, and that's perfectly understandable. A lot of you know exactly every word that I just said. It all comes with time. There's people that have been watching these videos in this sector for the last 4 years that I've been making them, and stick with them if this stuff's all new to you, because it makes a lot of sense. And I get messages constantly. I've been watching you for 5 years or 5 months, 6 months, and it's finally clicking. It takes that long. It's a lot to understand, but once you understand it, these moves make so much more sense and you're so much more comfortable. And the question why is so much less prominent in your brain when you can just look at the charts, and it explains a lot as to what's going on. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll continue the coverage as long as the opportunity continues. Hedging, we're going to talk hedging. The more that this move runs in the short term, the more I'm going to be talking about locking in some profit, perhaps starting some hedging strategies, because again, the last thing you want to be doing is sitting through monthly consolidation for another few months again without taking advantage of this bull pump leading into it. That's enough for now. Have a great weekend. Appreciate you watching. 35. We're setting records.